This video is documenting the prediction that the San Francisco 49ers will win this year's Super Bowl that will be played in San Francisco on February 8th, 2026. The date that this video is posted on the social media platform you are watching it on proves that this prediction is being made ahead of time, as does this time-stamped email and forensic notes PDF document. If you are skeptical for some reason, please email me and I will forward these to you. Welcome. This video is predicting that the San Francisco 49ers will win this year's Super Bowl in San Francisco on February 8th, 2026. This has been known for over a year prior to last year's Super Bowl and is being documented, this prediction, in this video with the post date of the video you were watching, as well as this email, which, as we can see, was composed on January 13th. Now, that said, I've made other videos that were posted with emails that were written prior to the beginning of the playoffs. We are now past the first weekend of the playoffs. I just posted a video yesterday regarding that. And this is somewhat of a continuation of that. In fact, really, the two are the same video. It wasn't realized that there was so much more to this until now. So watch that other video also. And anyway, the wildest wildcard weekend video is about the wildest wildcard weekend, which is what the media has described this playoff weekend as being. The wildest wildcard weekend. Okay, there's so much to that. And I'll just summarize by saying we have a record number of fourth quarter comebacks, including exchanges of the lead 4 times within the fourth quarter. And amongst this is the 4-point win by the San Francisco 49ers. They won by 4 points, and their opponents scored the 4 plus 4th prime number of points. Anyway, we have a lot of 4s, and that's the summary there. And this weekend and the San Francisco game is exactly 4 weeks before the predicted Super Bowl win of the San Francisco 49ers. Now, also what I failed or forgot to mention last time is that 4 weeks is 4 times 7 days, which since it's 47, which is the equivalent numeric value of the word beast in simple English gematria. A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals 3. And the beast is the metaphor for the Antichrist in Bible prophecy. And we are going to talk about the 2 Antichrists in this video, Barack Obama and Pope Francis. And this is an amazing video. You'll be blown away. Stay tuned. We'll also make the case that Barack Obama will return to the White House with his wife, Michelle, she as being the president and him as the vice president, on January 20th, 2029. Okay? Now, before we begin, the reason for this prediction that is from God is to prove this prediction for the Super Bowl, the controversial things that I'll be saying in this video. And believe me, I know far better than you or anyone the reason and purpose for this prediction that is from God. And it is not for you to go, oh, cool, neat, you were able to know this ahead of time. No, the reason and purpose for this prediction is to prove the controversial things that I'll be saying, including the silliness of the Antichrist guessing game that evangelicals love to play. It's time to stop. When the prediction comes to pass, it'll prove what I am saying is a fact. There's no more debate. Nope, it's not an opinion. Pope Francis is the first of the 2 Antichrists, and the second of the 2 in the 13th chapter of Revelation is Barack Obama. Case closed. Do you understand? If you don't appreciate this, you might as well turn off the video now. This isn't for you. You are wasting your time. Okay, and to not appreciate this is to not appreciate this prediction that is from God and this video channel. And I know more than you the reason and purpose for this video channel and this prediction. Okay? Now, let's get into what happened here. We'll also be talking about the Golden Globe Awards and how this is all pointing to the golden calf story in the Bible. This is an amazing story that God has told through his prophetic signs. Stay tuned. So on January 11th here, was the 83rd Golden Globes. Well, 83 is the 23rd prime number. Barack Obama's number is 23. It's the number he wore in high school basketball. Also, the mark of the Antichrist alters a person's 23 pairs of chromosomes. And this is 265 days after Francis died, Pope Francis, okay? And that's the 58th semi-prime number, and that's relevant to Pope Francis because he's described in the 5th through 8th King's prophecy in the Bible. Also, he was elected exactly 85 years after the St. Francis Dam collapsed in Los Angeles, as in Fallen Angels. Now, the 49ers tight end, George Kittle, left the game. This is so I talked about the football games in the other video, but I didn't talk anything about this. George Kittle left the game with an Achilles injury. He wears number 85. Again, Pope Francis is Mr. 85. And we're talking about San Francisco, who the team Kittle plays for, as in San Francisco. And he was the 146th overall pick. The name Renee Nicole Good equals 146. Mario Bergoglio. Okay, and he's 32 years old. Now, on this day was the Golden Globe Awards, and the actor Noah, as in Noah's Flood, Weil, won the Golden Globe for Best Actor in a Television Series for his role as Dr. John Carter in the show The Pit, as in the bottomless pit that will be opened with a key, from which the demons will come out and enter the earthly realm. The key is the symbol of the Vatican. That's prophecy in the Bible. January 11th was also in the Golden Globes. The actress Jean Smart won the Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Television Series for the show Hacks, as in the genes that will be hacked, manipulated through the mark of the Antichrist, the SHOT, which will be enforced through smartphones, hence Jean Smart. The previous award was for the show The Pit, which is a show about doctors in an emergency room, as in the PANDEMIC, COVID. The movie K-pop Demon Hunters won the Golden Globe for Best Original Song in a Motion Picture. The song is called Golden. This is on the same day as the San Francisco 49ers prophetic football game and this injury that points, as I'll be explaining, to the golden calf, because George Kittle injured his calf. And he plays for the 49ers, who are named after the 1849 gold rush, and play in the city in which is located the Golden Gate Park and Golden Gate Bridge, as in the bridge from the demonic realm into the earthly realm, as in statues that were golden, that were worshipped in ancient times because it was believed they became dwelling places for demonic spirits. And no, the ancients weren't dumb. They knew that their idols weren't alive. They didn't carve an idol and actually worship the idol. They believed the spirits would dwell in their idol, which they did. Now, because people get the deception they ask for. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. The previous award, okay, I already said that. So they said if there were to be a sequel to the movie K-pop Demon Hunters, it won't be until 2029. This is prophetic. And the reasoning being that it takes so long to make the movie, the K-pop Demon Hunter movie. But that's prophetic because 2029 is the year that the bottomless pit will be opened with the key, from which the demons will cross over into the earthly realm, the bridge. Obama and Francis will make their sequels in that year. Obama will return to the White House, and Pope Francis will be raised from the dead through demonic power in April of 2029. So that's why part 2. So the speculation of a K-pop Demon Hunters Part 2 in 2029 is because of the sequel Part 2 to Obama and Francis and the Demons in 2029. This is amazing. Actor Timothée Chalamet won the Golden Globe for Best Actor in a musical or comedy for his role in the film Marty Supreme, where he plays a ping pong champion hustler who has the nickname The Needle, as in the SHOT, that is the mark of the Antichrist. And it was the mark of the Antichrist in its current form. It did not need an additional something to go with it, such as an additional technology or false form of religious worship. For those who are wise, it did come with a false form of religious worship, and it does not need a supposed new age of dispensation after supposedly all quote-unquote Christians will be raptured. In fact, one of the main reasons why the vast majority of quote-unquote Christians have already taken the mark of the Antichrist is, in fact, judgment for this particular doctrine that Jesus said he hates and is coming to make war with the sword of his mouth on those that teach and have the works that are a product of this doctrine. Dispensationalism, which is the package that free grace and cheap grace come in, its close cousin being Reformed theology and Calvinism. Anyway, that's another subject. But everything that I have just said is a fact and is not for debate or discussion at all once the prediction comes to pass. And that is the purpose for this prediction. And I know more than you the reason and purpose for this prediction. That is from God. I know why God has given me a voice and the authority to tell you this through this prediction. Okay? And that's the point of the needle here. Now, the commonly held objections that people have based on their understanding of Bible prophecy are incorrect, will be proven to be incorrect when the prediction comes to pass. Case closed. But these things are answered in the must-watch Snakebite video on this channel. Now, he is currently dating Kylie Jenner. This is a news story these days. And she attended the Golden Globes with Timothée Chalamet. Jenner hints at Edwin Jenner, the creator of the first VACCINE. And he won for the movie The Needle. Amazing. And we are talking about the Golden Globes and how this is all pointing to the golden calf. And that's exactly what happened. The people that are spirit of Antichrist or have the spirit of Antichrist worshipped the needle during the CVD hysteria propaganda days. Actress Mila Kunis from the movie Wake Up Dead Man, as in Pope Francis. By the way, this movie was released exactly 41 months before his predicted resurrection. 41 is equal to key, the word key, in Simple English Gematria. The key opens the bottomless pit, from which the demons will rise and then raise Pope Francis from the dead. Wake up, dead men. Okay, so she, from this movie, and the actor Keegan-Michael Key, can you believe that? And the movie was released, key connection, 41 months to the resurrection of the dead man. Okay, and this key actor is going to star in the upcoming Super Mario Galaxy. His middle name, the Pope Francis's middle name is Mario. They presented the Golden Globe Award for Best Animated Motion Picture. The award was won by K-pop Demon Hunters, as in the demons that will raise Pope Francis. Oh, by the way, K-pop hints at Kittle. That's the connection. Because as I'll explain, Kittle is a hint at little, but the K is the difference, and we have the K-pop Demon Hunters and Kittle. Stunning. These are on the same date, January 11th, the Kittle injury and the K-pop victory. All right? Oh! Kittle's calf popped. Oh, wow. That's his injury. His calf popped. Kittle's injury popped. Oh, wow. Okay, now the actress from the new show Pluribus by Vince Gilligan, Breaking Bad, as in Obama Breaking Bad, and Francis Breaking Bad. Okay, the actress from Pluribus, Rhea Seehorn. Oh, and The Beast rises from the sea. Won the Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Series. Right after Rhea Seehorn. Oh, and that's what we're talking about later. I'll talk about how Kittle hints at the little horn. Rhea Seehorn. This is another connection between Kittle and the Golden Globes. Kittle, that is, for the Gold Rush team. Right after Rhea Seehorn won for Pluribus, the Golden Globe for Best Drama Series was presented and won by the show The Pit. Adolescence, the show, won 4 awards. This hints at age reversal that will be promised through the mark of the Antichrist. After Pope Francis is resurrected. Julia Roberts presented for Best Picture, Best Motion Picture, Musical or Comedy. She got a standing ovation and when she walked out because of how revered she is. Well, there's not much more to elaborate here at this time other than Julia Roberts is part of a pattern of signs that points to Robinson. Both Scottish names have the same etymological root, and Michelle Obama's maiden name is Robinson. And she will be revered, or she is revered. Okay? The movie One Battle After Another, which stars Leo DiCaprio. Now, there's more to this, I'm sure. Because we've analyzed this before. Anyway, there's political controversy in this one too. Anyway, we'll move on. 4-time Golden Globes winner presented the final award of the night. So you know what? Okay, so Pope Francis is going to be resurrected from the dead. That's age reversal. And the Francis Super Bowl, when San Francisco is predicted to win in San Francisco, is exactly 4 weeks after this Golden Globes when the show Adolescence won 4 awards. And the 49ers won by 4 points, San Francisco. Well, we have also the 4-time Golden Globe winner presenting the final award of the night. He first came on the stage on his own, but was joined by Don Cheadle. The bit was about how everyone stood up for Julia Roberts and how George Clooney, I guess he's the one being talked about here with the 4 times winning. This is a note from my friend. George Clooney had lost his nomination earlier in the night and how it had been 30 years since he last won a Golden Globe. Okay. Well, anyway, 30 years is in the Bible symbolic of a king, as in the Antichrist king. But Joseph was made king in Egypt, and the king of Egypt in the Bible is symbolic of the Antichrist. Furthermore, Joseph presided over a period of food rationing, as will Barack Obama, the Antichrist. And by the way, from the time that he moved to Chicago to the time that he left office in 2016, Chicago won the Super Bowl in 1986. It is a 30-year cycle in which all of the major sports teams from Chicago won their championships, breaking long drought sports curses. And 4 days before the 44th president left office, player number 44 for the Chicago Cubs presented Obama with jersey number 44 because they had just won the World Series, completing the 30-year cycle. Just for example, just a proof for you of the 30-year prophetic meaning here, and especially regarding Obama. So the movie Hamnet won, which is about Shakespeare's life amidst the backdrop of the 4x 4th century Black Death, as in the 44th president. Bill Shakespeare was the first man to take the CVD, SHOT. That was his name. Now, this January 11th date and the 23rd prime number Golden Globe Awards hint at 1123, which is the 188th prime number, which hints at H188, whoa, exclamation mark, used in the Bible in the context of extreme judgment from God. San Francisco, the 49ers game on January, this is just a subtitle, okay. So January 10th was 65,000 days after the California gold rush began. In 1848. Christian McCaffrey is number 23 for the 49ers. If involved in a prophetic play, 65,000 days after the gold rush, the number 65 is the 23rd semi-prime number, a number that is only divisible by two other prime numbers. Also, Obama wore jersey number 23. Now, this is prophetic because, in fact, Christian McCaffrey was involved with prophetic plays in that game on this date. He was involved in the prophetic play, which was the big deception play of the game. It was the highlight of the game, really, where the quarterback tossed it to a player who tossed it to another player, a wide receiver, who then threw it to Christian McCaffrey, a running back, who caught it in the end zone for a touchdown. And that was the game-winning touchdown, in fact. So I was correct. This was before I watched the highlights. I made this statement here, and sure enough, he was involved in the prophetic play of the game, which supports the subtraction of this 23rd prime number of days here, 65,000 exactly. We have the San Francisco 49ers Gold Rush team in this prophetic game exactly 65,000 days after the California Gold Rush began. This is stunning. The date of the gold rush is aligned with this game. That's how important this prophetic sign is. Do you understand? Look at what God did, just for example. This isn't just something to, just pass over. God aligned the date of the gold rush to align with this football game from way back then. And no one is explaining this football game except for on this channel. That's why God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections is only being explained on this channel. Not that there aren't other places where other prophetic signs are being talked about. That's not what I'm saying. But the big picture, the interconnected web, which is how, because of the non-appreciation for the interconnected web, because none of God's prophetic signs can be properly or fully understood without their context and connections with the other prophetic signs, which isn't appreciated by other watchers. And that's why the vast majority of the prophetic signs are not even recognized, let alone understood. Well, the total of the points in the game was also 23. That's also a support for the 65,000 days connection. But not only that, the other team scored 19 points, which is the 4 plus 4th prime number, and that's a pairing of 23 and 44, which is how God's true big picture of signs and patterns and connections works. It works on the principle of second and third and multiple witnesses confirming a matter, as the Bible says is required. And this is what makes what is being explained on this channel true and not a product of one's imagination and different and unique than everything else on the internet that claims to be an analysis of God's prophetic signs. And if we think about it, one simple way in which God would provide a second witness for us is through pairing certain numbers together, such as 23 and 44. And I know that these are the numbers because I have been studying his big picture of signs, patterns, and connections from morning until night for more than full-time hours for more than 7 years. That said, the pairings of 23 and 44 has been recognized for many years, since 2020, because these are the building blocks. These are the building blocks of God's prophetic signs. And 23 and 44 because the 44th president was the basketball president who wore jersey number 23. It happens that the score in the game here of 23 to 19 adds up to 42, which is this number in Bible prophecy mentioned 7 times as being symbolic of the period of the Antichrist. Now, we have George Kittle in his injury. This is a big story. This is like the story of the game in a way. There's so much to this, and I'm going to start getting into it here. But first of all, George Kittle hints at the word little. So Kittle hints at little, as in little horn. I touched on this earlier because on this same day we had the woman named Seahorn win the Golden Globe. Okay, now the little horn is in Daniel chapter 7. Quote, I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another horn, a little horn, before which three of the first horns were plucked up by the roots. So 3 were plucked up, and then the one little horn was replacing the 3. And behold, in this horn, this one horn here, this little horn, were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. This is about the Antichrist. In the Bible and Bible prophecy, a horn is symbolic of a ruler. Okay, so Francis is the little horn, and Kittle plays for San Francisco. Now, the injury was like his foot planted on the ground, right? You could argue that this is like a horn. Well, anyway, we don't even need that. But anyway, so San Francisco had 7 points at the same time of the at the time of the injury. This would hint at Daniel chapter 7. Okay, this is confirmation because they had 7 points, and it's Daniel chapter 7 where we have the little horn. They were playing the team from Philadelphia, in Philadelphia, and Philadelphia is one of the 7 churches. And at the time, they had 13 points, which gives us Revelation chapter 13. This parallel with the book of Daniel. Right? The beast in Revelation chapter 13 is a parallel with the beasts in Daniel chapter 7. Direct parallel. And that's why the score at the time of Kittle's injury was 7-13, because Kittle hints at the little horn in Daniel chapter 7. Now, the Eagles' defender in the play was number 13 plus 13 plus 13, and God repeats a number 3 times for emphasis of its symbolic meaning. This case hinting at Revelation 13. The injury isn't just an injury story. It represents the entire season for the 49ers, plagued by injuries. And in fact, I just learned after I wrote this that it represents the entire time of the 49ers franchise since they moved to their new stadium. Because as I'll mention in a bit, the 49ers, since they moved to their new stadium, which is the stadium that the Super Bowl will be played in this year, exactly 4 weeks after this 49ers game in which they won by 4 points in the fourth quarter. And they moved to the stadium in 2014. But since that time, the 49ers have had by far, like by a huge amount, on average, the most injuries. And specifically the type of injury that injured Kittle in this game. Achilles heel injuries, for example. And I'll explain the reason why this is, but it's prophetic. So this injury story isn't only representing the entire injury-plagued season of the 49ers this year, but it actually represents the 49ers franchise. And there's a good reason for that. And that, again, is because San Francisco 49ers hints at Pope Francis. Now, this injury highlights their entire season. It is being questioned by the media as, quote, the last straw, unquote. The teammates are upset because Kittle is the team leader. It's not just an injury, it's a star player, but he's like also the morale leader of the team. This leadership role of Kittle is more confirmation that Kittle hints at little horn, which is a ruler, a leader. And he plays for San Francisco, Francis, and Kittle's number is 85. Oh, that's the thing. His number is 85. He plays for San Francisco. And Pope Francis was elected exactly 85 years after the St. Francis Dam collapsed in Los Angeles, as in fallen angels. And Francis is the Antichrist in the 5th through 8th King's prophecy. Now, Noah Weil won the Golden Globe, W equals 23. It was on the weekend of the wildest wild card weekend, WWW. The internet, smartphones will be used to enforce the mark of the Antichrist that the demons out of the bottomless pit will promote. This show, The Pit, in which Noah Weil won. So the Golden Globe for The Pit is exactly the 6 plus 6 plus 6th triangular number of weeks, which is 171 weeks. In other words, 171 is the 18th triangular number. In a triangle of numbers, the last number in the 18th row is 171. 18 is 6 plus 6 plus 6. So from this Golden Globe win for the show The Pit, it is exactly the 6 plus 6 plus 6, as in the Antichrist number of weeks, to the anniversary of Pope Francis's death. The fourth anniversary. The fourth letter of the Hebrew alphabet is the door, symbol for the door, and it is a door that will open the bottomless pit to the demons that will raise Pope Francis from the dead. This reminds me of Gene Hackman, because we had this Jean Smart actress that won for the show The Hacks, or Hacks, okay? Anyway, Gene Hackman starred in the movie Hoosiers, and the Hoosiers won the Rose Bowl, the prophetic sign that was the Rose Bowl, as explained in another video, 10 days earlier against Alabama. Alabama hints at Obama. It's the 22nd state. The number 22 in God's sign symbolizes the mark of the Antichrist. And the flag for Alabama is a white flag with a big red X. X is symbolic of the mark of the Antichrist because the 22nd letter in the Hebrew alphabet is the Tav. In ancient Hebrew is the X. And it's a red X because of blood. The mark of the Antichrist is injected into this person's blood. So, now Kittle hints at K. K is the 11th letter of the alphabet. The date we are talking about is the date 111. Does this hint at the golden calf? I was already starting to get onto the trail here, this clue. This is the golden calf. Well, Exodus was chapter 32. The golden calf is in Exodus chapter 32. There's an exclamation mark there because 32 years old is the age of Kittle. He plays for the Gold Rush team. And what was realized just now, which wasn't at the time of this email, was that he popped his calf. As in the golden calf, as in K-pop demon hunters. Now, the ice shooting in the 32nd state is 32 days before the Super Bowl, which in turn is 320.00% of a year before the anniversary of Pope Francis's death, the 4-year anniversary. Golden, the word golden is equal to 126 in Hebrew gematria and 57 in simple English gematria. And 57 is also equal to vaccine. The 32nd state, chapter 32, the I-35, which is where the shooting took place, next to it, which hints at 5 times 7, which equals 57, and vaccine, and this equals golden as well. So we're on the trail here of the mark of the Antichrist, the vaccine, but what's coming to light here is this connection to the golden calf, because Kittle injured his heel, his Achilles heel, which is essentially the calf muscle, or it's part of the calf. Not only that, the golden calf in the book of Exodus is hinted at with the gold rush migration. That was the gold rush. What was the gold rush? It was people migrating to seek gold. And Exodus is about the migration of the Israelites out of Egypt to the promised land, during which they had their episode of the golden calf. Now, the Golden Globes is a golden statuette, which hints at the golden calf statue. As I mentioned, the ancients didn't carve idols and think that they were gods. They believed that the spirits would inhabit the golden idol that they would create. So in other words, golden here is hinting at the demons, which is why at the Golden Globes with the Golden Statuette Awards, K-pop Demon Hunters movie won. I've come to understand that in the world of kids today, the biggest thing today for kids is K-pop Demon Hunters. All right? So it's a huge thing. And now we understand the prophetic significance of it. The K-pop Demon Hunters hints at the Kittle player popping his calf. The K-pop Demon Hunters won the Golden Globe statuette, and the player for the 49ers is the Gold Rush team playing next to the Golden Gate Bridge and Golden Gate Park, etc., in the Golden State because of the Gold Rush, which is migration, Exodus, golden calf. It's amazing. The 49ers Gold Rush migration, Kittle's injury, was on the same weekend as the release of Greenland 2 Migration movie. There's a movie released on the same weekend in which the title is Migration. The opening weekend for this Migration movie was the weekend of this prophetic Gold Rush game, 65,000 days after the official start of the Gold Rush, 23rd semi-prime number, 23rd prime number Golden Globes. The team scored 23 points. Christian McCaffrey made the prophetic play in the deception play because the Antichrist is the deceiver, and on and on. Revelation 9:20 through 21, quote, "The rest of mankind who were not killed by these plagues did not repent of the works of their hands, nor give up worshiping demons and idols of gold and silver and bronze and stone and wood, which cannot see or hear or walk. Nor did they repent of their murders or their sorceries or their sexual immorality or their thefts." What this is saying here is that, like I'm saying, the ancients didn't think that their statues that they created of gold were actually gods. They were inhabited by the demons. That's what they believed, and they were. Gold is associated with demons. I should even be more precise, golden. Golden is associated with demons. We now know this because of all these signs that I'm explaining here. This is because golden idols were made for dwelling places for demons and deities. The ancients weren't dumb. They understood that the idols they made were for not actual deities. They understood that the idols they made were not actually deities. They understood these idols to be places for the deities to dwell. Their idols were golden. On the weekend of the 9th through 11th of January, as in Revelation 9:11, Greenland 2 Migration, as in Exodus, was released, and the 32-year-old, as in chapter 32, Golden Calf, player for the San Francisco, as in Francis, 49ers, as in Gold Rush Migration equals Exodus Golden Calf, George Kittle, as in Little Horn, injured his Achilles heel, as in calf. He popped it just like the K-pop movie Demon Hunters. Exodus chapter 32, Golden California. Oh my. Oh wow, that just came to me. Look at that. Calf is hinted at with California. I just did a slip there. I didn't even mean it. I was about to say California because of the Golden State, California. But it's wow. Okay. So Think about that. Let that sink in. Earlier I talked about appreciating how the beginning of the gold rush was designed to point to this prophetic football game, which is amazing because this connection is only being talked about on this channel. Now I'm telling you the reason for the name California has all along been hinting at the golden calf. That's correct. It's that straightforward. The Golden State with the gold rush that drew people from the East Coast to the West and established America from coast to coast, which was, by the way, God's design in that. The gold rush. Golden California hints at the golden calf. How amazing is that? The 49ers, as in Gold Rush player, injured his calf, as in the golden calf, on the same day of the Golden Globes Awards, and K-pop Demon Hunters, as in popping of the calf muscle, in which Noah of the Pit, as in City of Bridges, Pittsburgh, won. Gene Smart of Hacks won, as in Gene's hacked with the mark of the Antichrist. K-pop Demon Hunters won Demonic Possession, as in popping of the calf muscle. Kittle won the award presented by Keegan Michael Key, as in key that opens the door to the bottomless pit, and Mila Kunis, as from the movie Wake Up Dead Man, as in the resurrection of Pope Francis, and Timothy Chalamet, who's dating Kylie Jenner, which since at Edwin Jenner, the discoverer of the first VACCINE, who won for portraying the needle, which will be promoted by the demons after they raise Pope Francis from the dead and promise age reversal, which is why the show Adolescence won 4 awards, as in 4 years after Francis's death, and also the 4th letter of the Hebrew alphabet symbolizing the door that's open to the bottomless pit. Wake Up Dead Man was released on November 26, 2025, 12.60% of a year, which hints at 1,260, this number that symbolizes the period of the Antichrist mentioned 7 times in Bible prophecy. Before this date, the game and the Golden Globes on January 11th, when Mila Kunis presented the award, who starred in Wake Up Dead Man. This November 26, 2025 date is also exactly 41 months to the predicted resurrection of Pope Francis, when he will wake up from the dead. And again, 41 is the equivalent numerically of the word key in simple English gematria. A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals 3, and it is a key that will open the door to the bottomless pit, and the Vatican is symbolized by keys, and Pope Francis will be resurrected at the Vatican by demonic powers. The plot of Wake Up Dead Man takes place in a Catholic church. That's amazing because of the connections that I just said to the Vatican. Now, this church is in the 11th state, and Kunis presented on the date 1/11. The release of Wake Up Dead Man on Netflix, X is used in God's signs to symbolize the mark of the Antichrist, on December 12, 2025, was exactly 13 years after the first social media post by a pope on 12/12 in the year 12. And 12/12 in 2025 is exactly 4 times 44 weeks inclusive count, which includes the start date, to the dates predicted that Pope Francis will be resurrected from the dead when the door, which is symbolized by the number 4, opens the bottomless pit. The player involved in the tackle of Kittle that caused his injury was player number 39. The game on November 26th, The game on January 11th is 3 years and 9 days, as in 39, before it is predicted that Obama will make a comeback to the White House. The 49ers came back in a dramatic fourth quarter comeback after Kittle was injured, and they won by 4 points. Anyway, it was a comeback, and the play of the injury involving number 39 is 3 years and 9 days before the comeback of Obama at the White House. 39 is equal to 13 plus 13 plus 13. The Antichrist and mark of the Antichrist are described in Revelation chapter 13. The Obama's inauguration ball will be in the new golden ballroom built by Trump. It will be a golden calf sign. Oh, and incidentally, they will be the president and vice president because of the death of the governor of the Golden State, California. And the former senator from the Golden State, California. Harris and Newsom are predicted to die in a plane crash. They are predicted to be running mates, and they will die in a plane crash together on August 2nd, 2028. They will be on their way back to the Golden Calf State. I'm going to call it the Golden Calf State now. After Kittle's calf injury, his Gold Rush team went on to win by 4 points to Philadelphia's 4 plus 4th prime number of points. 44th President Golden Calf. The Gold Rush team scored 23 points. Obama wore number 23. 23 pairs of chromosomes. Also, the name Obama is equal to 32 in simple English gematria, and the injury of Kittle's is he's a 32-year-old. And we're talking about the 32nd chapter of Exodus with the golden calf. And also, Christian McCaffrey, number 23, made the prophetic play in the game. Obama wore number 23 in high school basketball. The mark of the Antichrist also alters a person's 23 pairs of chromosomes. Okay, now there's this article here. This is fascinating and extremely prophetic. The 49ers moved to their new stadium in 2014. Since then, they are the most injured team by far. 2014 was the first season after the election of Pope Francis. It's not actually correct. It's the second season after Pope Francis. But anyway, the date Francis was elected is 550 days to the first game on September 14th, 2014. This is also the equivalent of exactly 6 plus 6 plus 6 months and 4,400 plus 4,400 plus 4,400 hours. The 44th president will return to the White House, which has 44 plus 44 plus 44 rooms, located at 4 times 400 Pennsylvania Avenue. 666, obviously, the number of the Antichrist. But why 550 days? Well, this is amazing because of what I'm about to explain. The reasoning for the injuries. Because what the article explains is that the reason why, and there's no other reason that could possibly explain it. Not chance, not bad luck, not the turf that they play on, which was one thing that has been talked about in the media. Nope, this is for sure the reason. And the players all know it. They joke about it in the locker room. Their practice field is located right next to a power substation. And it is believed that the low frequencies, the electromagnetic frequencies exceed healthy levels, and it's what's causing the injuries. It's frequencies. And it's 550 days hints at the 5G frequencies that will trigger the things that are inside people's brains that have reached their brains through the mark of the Antichrist that will act as transistors to the frequencies and then engender delta brain waves, which will facilitate demonic possession. Yep. Now, this first game I'll prove is prophetic because it was between Chicago and San Francisco. the two teams in God's signs that symbolize the first and second Antichrists, Pope Francis and Barack Obama, because Obama was from Chicago. San Francisco hints at Pope Francis. The Bears won the game by 4+4 points. There you go. 44th president from Chicago Bears. By the way, he moved to Chicago in the year of the 85 Bears. Speaking of 85, Kittle was number 85. And that was the year of what people call the greatest football team in history, the 85 Bears. Obama hosted the 85 Bears at the White House because back in 85, there wasn't the tradition where the winning team visits the White House. So he did that. And the day they were there was the Day of Atonement. The Antichrist will be defeated on the Day of Atonement in 2031 by the return of Lord Jesus Christ. Not only that, though, it was also the date October 7th, the 10th, and the Day of Atonement is the 10th day of the 7th month. Anyway, it was a comeback for the Bears. This first game was a big comeback for the Bears. They were down 17-0 at one point in the game. That clearly hints at the 10th day of the 7th month, and also the beast that has 7 heads and 10 horns, hinting at 17, but also the 44th president who will be on the Temple Mount on the Day of Atonement. Okay, so God pairs 17 and 44 to confirm the signs and connections. And so that's the amazing thing, because Chicago, where the 44th president is from, came back from 17 points, and the 44th president will make a comeback to the White House and then promote the mark of the Antichrist, which will facilitate demonic possession through frequencies, which is why we have this first game and then thereafter the egregious disparity between a number of injuries between this team and the other teams of the league. The injuries are due to low-level frequencies. The first game was 550 days after Francis was elected. It wasn't the first season, it was okay. 5G frequencies. Satan also, incidentally, is equal to 55 in simple English gematria. The Monday Night Football game in Candlestick Park, the nationally televised game, in which the power in the stadium went out twice. This famous game because of the power outage. And they played Pittsburgh. Okay, and it was on the eve of Hanukkah, which is about the lighting of the candlestick, menorah, which went out and couldn't be put back and couldn't be relit after Jesus was crucified. This is like a story, right? This is a rabbinic tradition. They don't associate it with Jesus. But it started happening before the Second Temple was destroyed in 70 AD, right after Jesus was crucified. Anyway, the rabbis see it as an omen prior to the destruction of the temple. But what it was a sign from God that God had left the temple in Jerusalem after they had crucified him, Jesus. And so that's why the menorah couldn't be lit anymore. No matter how much they tried to light it, it would continue to be blown out. And that's why the power went out at Candlestick Park. And when it went out, there was an explosion next to Candlestick Park at the substation. Hence the connection to the substation that's causing the injuries through frequencies, which is a hint at the injuries that people will have in their bodies after they take the mark of the Antichrist, which consists of these transistors that will act and receive the 5G frequencies. Well, anyway, this Candlestick Park game was exactly 1,000 days before this first game at Levi's Stadium, which is next to a power station, substation, and also Candlestick Park went out because of an explosion at the power station. 1,000 days is the equivalent of 1,440,000 minutes, which hints at 144,000, the extremely prophetic number in the book of Revelation that symbolizes those who will be raptured and rescued from the extreme persecution from the Antichrist through the mark of the Antichrist and the subsequent demonic possession. The two teams to play in the first game at Levi's Stadium were San Francisco and Chicago. These two teams staged dramatic comebacks in the fourth quarter during the wildest wild card weekend, which was all about the number 4, as I've explained in the other video. Francis and Obama, San Francisco, Chicago, will make dramatic comebacks. The 49ers equals gold rush migration. The weekend of the wildest wildcard weekend was the weekend of the release of Greenland, as in the fourth color of the rainbow, as in fourth color of the horses of the apocalypse, as in the color of the fourth horse. Greenland 2, migration. The golden calf idol worship occurred during the exodus to the promised land. The left has been accused of worship of Obama that is comparable to the worship of the golden calf. This isn't just me making this up. This has been something that's been talked about amongst conservatives for years. This comparing this worship of Obama to the golden calf. All right? So we have this all about Obama, this comeback, right? Now we have, as I've explained now, this all pointing to the golden calf. So is there an association between the golden calf and Obama? Well, Obama will become the president again as a result of the governor of California dying in a plane crash on his return to the golden calf state. But Obama's autobiography is titled A Promised Land. What's that? That's gold rush migration. That's Greenland 2 migration. That's Exodus Israelites migration to the promised land, during which they had the golden calf episode. Obama's autobiography is titled A Promised Land. In other words, yes, the golden calf episode is symbolic of the worship of Obama. I can prove that. Not only will this prediction for the 49ers prove this, but so does this. The release date of A Promised Land on November 17th, 2020. This date was exactly 1,880 days before Chicago's big comeback game on January 10th, 2026. Obama's comeback. Obama being Chicago, right? This is because God repeats this number frequently in his signs, because the 188th number in the Hebrew concordance is the word woe exclamation mark, used in the context of extreme judgment from God in the Bible, including the instance of the woe, the first woe, which is describing demonic possession. Or maybe it's the second woe, I forget. Which is what's being hinted at with San Francisco and these injuries, as I've now explained. The demonic possession through the frequencies of those who have taken the mark of the Antichrist. And to complete all of this, the golden calf injury of the player on the Gold Rush team on the day of the Golden Globe Awards and the K-pop victory popped his calf. He was involved in the play with player number 39. This game involving number 39 in the injury is 3 years and 9 days before Obama's comeback and inaugural ball in the Trump's Golden Ballroom. Yeah. One other thing here. This date that the A Promised Land book was released, 11/17, also is confirmed as being prophetic because the Antichrist is described in Zechariah 11, chapter 11, verse 17. Also, the first instance of the word owl in the Bible is Leviticus 11:17, and Obama was known as the night owl, in stark contrast with his predecessor, who was known as being an early bird. Also, 1117 in the Hebrew concordance is the word Bama, which is a proper noun that means high place. Jesus said in Luke 10:18 that he saw Satan falling like lightning from heaven. Lightning in Hebrew is barak. High place in Hebrew is Bama, which in the Bible is a metaphor for heaven. For example, it is said that Lucifer fell from the high place, and also the high places is a euphemism in the Bible referring to the false religious worship, as in golden calf on the tops of mountains. And the word from in Aramaic, the language Jesus would have spoken, is O. And so Barack Obama means lightning from heaven. Either Jesus didn't know what he was saying when he said this, or he knew there would be a famous president named Barack Obama and said this anyway, knowing that it would confuse us, or he was revealing the identity of the Antichrist. Obviously, the latter option is the only one that makes any sense. But if you had heard that before and still dismissed it because you love to play the Antichrist guessing game, well, it's time to stop that guessing game when this prediction comes to pass, because believe me, I know far better than you the reason and purpose for this prediction that is from God, and it is to prove what I'm saying regarding the identity of the Antichrist, Obama. There's no debate after the prediction comes to pass. And one last thing, to the agnostic atheist that will say, well, it's a coincidence, because of course San Francisco has an opportunity to win. It doesn't prove anything. That's incorrect. And you are a colossal fool if you believe this. Because any reasonable person, and you aren't a reasonable person if you believe this, any somewhat reasonable person with a modicum of reason will appreciate that the connections that I've just described here could not have been concocted in the imagination of a human being. Therefore, it will not be a coincidence when San Francisco wins the Super Bowl in San Francisco this year. The things that I've explained in this video are enough, but if they for some reason are not, and you insist on being a fool, watch the other videos, especially the first one. If this was not enough, watch the first video, okay? That's what I have to tell you, okay? Because there's no excuse after this. This isn't a coincidence. These connections are not from some strange person's imagination, all right? Okay. God bless. All right, there's a few more things to add here. The Golden State Warriors. So all of this understanding now regarding California being the Golden Calf state. We have the success of the Golden State Warriors that coincided with the period of Obama in the White House, the Golden Calf, Obama. So I looked into it, and there was this prophetic incident or a prophetic meeting between the Golden State Warriors and Obama, because the Golden State Warriors won the NBA Finals in 2018 during the presidency of Trump. And it is tradition now for championship teams to visit the White House after they win. Except this team has a peculiar case relative to other teams of Trump derangement syndrome, from their head coach to their players. And they decided that instead of meeting with Trump during the Trump presidency, that they would meet with Obama in Washington, D.C. That is an example of, that's essentially a coup. That's a political, that's traitorous. That's treasonous. That's traitorous. That's evil. That's wicked. That's anti-American. It's Antichrist spirit. And we are talking about Obama, the Antichrist. But even if it weren't Obama, if it were anyone, it would be rebellion. It would be what more adjectives can I use? I think you understand what I'm saying here. The former president, you don't go visit the former president when it's tradition to visit the president. Not in a democracy, right? No. But the left is so stupid and so sick. They don't know what they do, right? They've just got, there's no other way to put it other than Trump derangement syndrome, because it's a derangement. And they are the undemocratic ones. The left always accuses the they're opponents of doing the exact thing that they do. It's classic communist playbook. So anyway, the Golden State Warriors met with Obama instead of Trump on January 24th, 2019. What proves, what confirms this beyond a doubt, that this is an Antichrist sign that identifies the Antichrist, the golden calf, is that this date, January 24th, 2019, was exactly the 6 plus 6 plus 6th triangular number of years, 171 years. In a triangle of numbers, the last number in the 171st row is 666. No, the last number in the 18th row of a triangle of numbers is 171, and 18 is 6 plus 6 plus 6. On that note, Obama was born in 61, the 6 plus 6 plus 6th prime number. So, the Golden Calf meeting of the Golden State Warriors with Obama instead of Trump during the Trump presidency was exactly the 6 plus 6 plus 6th triangular number of years after the official start date of the gold rush on January 24th, 1848. We already talked about this date in this video. That date, once again, is exactly, or was exactly 65,000 days to the San Francisco 49ers Golden Calf game, when the calf of the star player popped, as I've already explained, right? And again, the 49ers scored 23 points in the game. There was the prophetic play involving player number 23 named Christian. And that was confirmation of the 65,000 days, because 65 is the 23rd semi-prime number. Well, we have another connection here, because we have the meeting of the Golden State Warriors with Obama instead of Trump, exactly the 6 plus 6 plus 6th triangular number of years after the gold rush began, as in the Golden State Warriors, named after the gold rush. Wow. Now this, to back this up even further, this 6 plus 6 plus 6th triangular number of years is also 2,052 months, which is an anagram. It hints at the number 2,520, which is a period of time in the most central prophecy in the Bible regarding symbolizing the period of the Antichrist. And this is a period of time, this 2052 months period. So this, in other words, is further confirmation that this is the Antichrist, Obama, who met the basketball president, who met with the Golden State Warriors. Now, it happens that Obama attended an NBA Finals game at the Tower of Babel. Literally, the stadium for the Toronto Raptors, as in Rapture, the escape of God's faithful from the Antichrist, is situated exactly next to the CN Tower in Toronto, the Tower of Babel City, and the CN Tower is, in God's signs, symbolic of the Tower of Babel. The Tower of Babel City being the city, Toronto, made up of peoples from all over the world speaking all kinds of different languages, and no longer being a Canadian city, which is why the Prime Minister, speaking of Obama, who wore number 23 in basketball, the 23rd Prime Minister boasted how Canada had become the first post-national country. The sick, wicked left, stupid left has destroyed the nation of Canada, and they boast about it. Okay? Because it isn't the country anymore. He's correct. The first post-national country. All right. Now, so the this date that the Golden State Warriors visited Obama instead of Trump is 4 months and 9 days, speaking of the 49ers and the gold rush, which is why the name Golden State Warriors. 4 months and 9 days which also hints at 4 divided by 9 equals 0.44. Before Obama attended the Golden State Warriors NBA Finals game next to the Tower of Babel. The Golden Globes Awards ceremony is held in the Golden State. It is a gathering of movie stars. Stars are fallen in the book of Revelation, chapter 12, regarding the dragon that sweeps with his tail a third of the stars down to earth, symbolic of fallen angels falling to earth. The dragon being also symbolic of the Antichrist, who in Revelation chapter 13 is described as a beast that speaks like a dragon, because Obama became the president through his ability to deliver a speech and to lie with a straight face and a smile. Okay, now the Golden Globes Awards ceremony is not only held in the Golden State, and it is a gathering of movie stars, fallen stars, but it is also held in Los Angeles, as in fallen angels. Los Angeles being Spanish for the angels. This year's Golden Globes was the 23rd prime number of Golden Globe ceremonies. Obama wore number 23 in high school basketball. The number 23 also hints at 2/3, leaving 1/3 to hint at the third of stars that fall to earth in Revelation chapter 12. The awards ceremony highlighted how George Clooney hadn't won a Golden Globe since Timothée Chalamet, who is 30 years old, was 3 years old. That was a joke during the Golden Globes. Don Cheadle came out while George Clooney was presenting an award and made fun of, in a way, how Clooney hadn't won an award since Chalamet was 3 years old, and that was calculated from knowing his age of 30 years old. When he asked him, how old are you? 30 years old, Chalamet replied. So in other words, we have the 30 years and 3 years. 30 years in the Bible is symbolic of a king, as in the Antichrist king. But we have these 2 threes, and this hints at the 1/3 of the stars that are fallen in Los Angeles in Revelation chapter 12. The 23rd prime number Golden Globes Awards ceremony on January 11th is 3 years and 9 days before the basketball president, who wore number 23, will celebrate his inauguration in Trump's Golden Ballroom. Okay, the 23rd awards, 23rd basketball president who wore 23. But we have 3 years and 9 days. Well, 3 years and 9 days between the Golden Globes and the Golden Ballroom inauguration of the Golden Calf, 3 years and 9 days hints at 3/9, which is a fraction that equals 1/3, which is 1/3 of the stars fallen to earth in Los Angeles. The Golden Globes Awards ceremony in Los Angeles is the 6 + 6 + 6th triangular number of weeks. And we already had the 6 + 6 + 6th triangular number of years, as I just talked about, connection. But anyway, the Golden Globes Awards ceremony in Los Angeles is the 6 + 6 + 6th triangular number of weeks before April 26, 2029, when 1/3 of the stars will be cast down to earth. This is what I am calling Revelation 9/11 day, or the day that the pit is opened, the bottomless pit with the key, which is the symbol for the Vatican. And this is the day it's predicted that Pope Francis will be resurrected from the dead through demonic power. And this Golden Globes Awards ceremony, and everything that I talked about in this video regarding it, is the 6 + 6 + 6th triangular number of weeks before the resurrection of the Antichrist, whose number is 666. Because there are 2 Antichrists, Pope Francis is the first of the 2, and Obama is the second, who gets his power from the first. After Francis will be resurrected by demons. In other words, Francis will get his power from Satan. So correction. Oh, okay. Yes. Correction. The Golden Globes Award ceremony in Los Angeles is the 6 + 6 + 6th triangular number of weeks before the 4th anniversary of Pope Francis's death, when 1/3 of the stars will be cast down to earth, okay? And the 4 again is because the 4th letter in the Hebrew alphabet is the symbol for a door, and it is a door that will open to the bottomless pit that will be opened with a key, which is the symbol for the Vatican, which is where Pope Francis will be resurrected. All right, and that's about it. God bless. Believe me, I know far better than you how the prediction made in this video was derived. And more importantly, I know far better than you why the righteous Christian God of the Bible has given me a voice through this prediction. If you are a quote-unquote Christian or Muslim, this prediction was not learned through a demon. Be warned that blaspheming the Holy Spirit is the unforgivable sin. If you are a New Ager or New Spirituality person, this prediction was not learned through somehow tapping into the supposed universal collective consciousness. If you are a conspiracy theorist, this prediction was not learned through figuring out a supposed code that the Illuminati and Satanists are using. This prediction was learned through the Bible and through watching carefully the Lord's prophetic signs, which Jesus commanded all Christians to do. Besides proving that Jesus Christ is the Lord, the reason why God has given me a voice through this prediction is to prove that the controversial things that I am saying in the videos on this channel are the truth. Therefore, a wise person will want to watch all of the videos on this channel. What I will also do is create a video or two that summarizes some of the controversial things that the Lord will prove to be true when the prediction being made in this video comes to pass. I will leave links to these must-watch videos in the description box below this video. Again, the purpose of this prediction, that is from God, is to prove these things that I will talk about. And therefore, it would be foolish to not watch the videos that I will leave links for in the description box below this video. Aliens and UFOs are demons masquerading as aliens and UFOs. Most people's spiritual experiences are demonic deception, especially if they are not a true follower of Christ. In the last days, many people who claim to be a follower of Christ will have spiritual experiences that are in reality demonic. God became a man and died a horrible death at the hand of the ruler of this world, Satan, and then defeated death for you, so that you too can overcome death, which is the price that must be paid for sin. It is time to repent, which means to change one's ways and turn to God and become a disciple of Jesus. Do not listen to or follow the example of most quote-unquote Christians. Instead, follow the teachings of Jesus, which most quote-unquote Christians ignore. Like Jesus, you must surrender your life. Put nothing ahead of Jesus, your Lord. Like Jesus, you must lay down your life so that you may live. As Jesus said, one must die first, like a kernel of wheat going into the ground, in order to then grow and produce fruit. And like Jesus said, one must produce fruit, or else like a branch or a tree not producing fruit, they will be thrown into the fire. Jesus was speaking to quote-unquote Christians when he said this. One must die the self in order to be born again. And like Jesus said, one must be born again to enter the kingdom. Like Jesus, you must sacrifice your life for the sake of the coming kingdom. It means to do work that involves some form of sacrifice and risk. To have faith does not mean to intellectually agree. You need to demonstrate your faith through taking action. To have faith means to trust in God's promises. Taking action demonstrates trust and fear of the Lord. The primary reason that the wrath of God is coming upon America is quote-unquote Christians that do not get what I have just explained. The only reason a Christian is alive is in order to help other people become Christians and make it to the kingdom. Do not be deceived by those on the political left claiming to be quote-unquote Christians. There is no such thing as a Christian on today's political progressive left. Jesus said, "Do not think I have come to abolish or change any bit of the law or the prophets of the Old Testament Bible." In other words, the God of the Old Testament Bible is the exact same God of the New Testament Bible. It is essential that you learn about the God of the Bible and his ways. The God of the Old Testament Bible is looking to see who will fear him, and to fear God is not the same thing as quote-unquote revering or honoring God. Through Christ's ransom payment, a Christian is someone who has been redeemed and freed from slavery to sin and Satan. In response, a true Christian recognizes that their life in this world does not belong to them, and they become a willing slave to Jesus for the sake of the kingdom. Please leave a like and upvote the video, and once this prediction has come to pass, share this video with everyone you know, and more, don't stop sharing it everywhere in social media. And don't only put the link to this video or another video on this channel in comments sections of places you typically visit, but importantly, put the link to the video in places you never visit, where people who don't think like you visit. If you are a quote-unquote Christian, nothing in terms of an evangelism tool compares to this video with its prediction. It is a massive bag of gold. Beware of Jesus' warning through the quote-unquote Christian that did nothing with his bag of gold and was banished to hell. Also, read Ezekiel chapter 3 and 33 for this same warning. If you think you might be spending too much time watching videos instead of working and sacrificing for the kingdom through handing out flyers and potentially helping hundreds of people in the same length of time as a video, my flyer is filled with amazing information that people need to know right now, and it points people to the video channel. Now is not the time to be handing out typical evangelical tracts that are largely based in error anyway, such as, quote, "Jesus loves you," unquote, for example. You can hand out the flyer on busy street corners, put them on car windshields in busy parking lots, and put them in mailboxes. Just send the file to your local print shop. You can download the file from the website. Please leave a like and upvote the video, and once this prediction has come to pass, share this video with everyone you know, and more, don't stop sharing it everywhere in social media. It is essential that everyone immediately read the homepage of my website, asteroidprediction.com. If you are watching this on the YouTube platform, please note that not all of the videos are on YouTube. You need to switch to the Odyssey.com or Rumble.com channel, and do it now in case you aren't able to later.